Okay, so I need you to stop whatever you're doing right now. Pause the scroll, put down your phone, sit up, because what I am about to share with you today is the kind of story that makes you want to stand up and slow clap. I'm talking about a betrayal so deep, so layered, so absolutely soul-crushing that when the karma finally hit, it didn't just hit. It arrived like a whole storm, with thunder, with lightning, with receipts. And honey, I was not ready. I genuinely was not ready. Welcome back to the channel, gorgeous. If you're new here, hi. I'm so glad the algorithm brought you to me today, because trust me, you picked the right day to stop by. And if you've been here before, you already know we don't hold back on this channel. We talk about the betrayals, the heartbreaks, the moments where life completely falls apart. And then, most importantly, we talk about what happens when the universe decides enough is enough and starts handing out consequences like candy. That's right, we are here for the karma, every single time. Now today, we are reacting to a Charlotte Dobre video. And if you've ever watched Charlotte, you already know she finds the wildest, most unhinged stories on the internet and reads them out with that iconic energy she has. And this particular story she covered? Oh my goodness, it involves a woman, her boyfriend of 3 years, and her childhood best friend. The three-way betrayal, the absolute trifecta of heartbreak. And I've been sitting on this reaction for a few days now because every time I tried to record it, I had to stop and just process. So let's get into it. Let's talk about everything. I'm going to walk you through the story. I'm going to give you my thoughts along the way. And we are absolutely going to celebrate the karma at the end together. Ready? Because I am so ready. So the woman who posted this, let's call her Maya, because Charlotte often gives the people in these stories little names, and I want to honor that energy. Maya had been with her boyfriend, let's call him Derek, for just over 3 years. 3 years. That's not a casual thing. That's birthdays together, holidays together, meeting each other's families, having inside jokes, building a whole shared life. 3 years is significant, and by all accounts, Maya thought things were going really well. She described their relationship as comfortable, loving, and she genuinely believed they were on the same page about the future. Now Maya also had a best friend. Let's call her Sienna. And Sienna wasn't just any friend. She was a childhood best friend. We're talking about a girl who knew Maya since they were literally little kids. The kind of friendship where you know each other's family drama. Where you've cried together at slumber parties. Where you've been through the awkward phases and the heartbreaks and the growing pains side by side. That kind of friendship is sacred. That kind of friendship is supposed to be unbreakable. It's supposed to be one of the safest places in your life. So when Maya introduced Derek to Sienna early on in the relationship, because of course she did, of course she brought her boyfriend around her best friend. That's just what you do. She had absolutely no reason to think anything of it. Derek and Sienna got along fine. They were friendly. They were polite. And for a long time, everything seemed completely normal. But then Maya started noticing little things. And I want to pause here for a second, because I feel like this is something so many of us can relate to. That feeling in your gut when something is off, but you can't quite put your finger on what. You're not sure if you're overthinking it. You're not sure if you're being paranoid. And the people around you are acting just normal enough that you start to question your own instincts. That's one of the most disorienting feelings in the world. And Maya went through that for months. She noticed that Sienna was texting more than usual. She noticed that Derek would sometimes seem distracted after being on his phone. She noticed that when the three of them were together, there were moments, just little micro moments, where something felt strange, an exchanged look, a joke that felt a little too familiar, a comment that landed a little too softly between them. Nothing she could hold in her hands and say, "This is proof." Just this slow, creeping unease that she kept pushing down because she loved both of these people, and she didn't want to believe what her gut was quietly screaming at her. And then one evening, completely out of nowhere, Derek sat her down and ended the relationship. He didn't do it gently. He didn't frame it as a conversation. He basically told her that his feelings had changed, that he didn't see a future with her anymore, and that he thought they should go their separate ways. Maya was absolutely blindsided. She described it as feeling like the floor disappeared beneath her feet. She asked him if there was someone else, and at first, he said no. He said it was just that his feelings had changed, that it wasn't about anyone else, that it was just time. She believed him, or she tried to, because what else do you do when the person you've trusted for 3 years looks you in the eye and tells you something? You want to believe them, even when everything inside you is screaming that something isn't adding up. And then, not even 2 weeks later, 2 weeks, Sienna called her. And in that phone call, Sienna told Maya that she and Derek had developed feelings for each other and that they had decided to pursue a relationship. 2 weeks. They couldn't even give her a month. They couldn't give her enough time to barely start processing the breakup before they were announcing themselves as a couple. Now, let's talk about what Charlotte had to say about this moment in her video, because the way she delivers these beats is just... she has a gift, honestly. She laid out how completely soul-destroying it is when 2 betrayals land at the same time. Because it's not just losing a boyfriend. It's not just losing a best friend. It's losing both simultaneously and then realizing they chose each other. That the 2 people who should have been your safest harbors in any storm were the ones who created the storm in the first place. And what hit me hardest about this part of the story is that Sienna called her. She called her. As if a phone call makes it okay. As if being the one to deliver the news yourself somehow earns you credit for doing the right thing when you've already done the deeply wrong thing. There is no phone call in the world that softens that kind of news. There is no amount of, "I hope you understand," or "I hope we can still be friends someday," that makes that okay. And the audacity, the sheer audacity of thinking that reaching out personally was somehow a noble act after everything. I can't. Maya, understandably, was devastated, and she went through what I imagine most of us would go through. The grief, the anger, the confusion, the obsessive replaying of every single memory, trying to figure out where the cracks started to show. She distanced herself from their whole social circle because so many of their mutual friends were now treating Derek and Sienna like a perfectly normal couple. Like this was just a love story. Like Maya was just a chapter that came before. And this is the part that Charlotte really digs into. The social erasure. The way that when a betrayal happens within a friend group, people often choose comfort over truth. They don't want to pick sides, so they just normalize the thing that was abnormal. They start coming to events where Derek and Sienna show up together. They stop checking on Maya as much. And slowly, without anyone making a dramatic declaration, Maya found herself being moved to the edges of the life she'd built. She said there was one mutual friend, someone she'd known for years, who actually told her she needed to get over it because Derek and Sienna clearly had a real connection, and you can't help who you fall in love with. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did someone really say that to her face? Did someone look at Maya, who had just lost her 3-year relationship and her childhood best friend in one fell swoop, and tell her to get over it because you can't help who you fall in love with? Let me tell you something. You absolutely can help how you act on those feelings. You can help whether you pursue your best friend's partner behind her back. You can help whether you lie to someone's face when they ask you directly if something is going on. You can absolutely help that. Feelings are human. Actions are choices. And that distinction matters enormously. Charlotte made this point in her video, and I was nodding so hard I almost gave myself whiplash. Because this, you can't help who you fall in love with defense gets pulled out every single time someone uses feelings as a justification for deliberately hurtful behavior. And it lets people off the hook for things they should absolutely be held accountable for. So Maya is going through all of this. She's grieving a relationship and a friendship at the same time. She's being quietly pushed out of her social circle. She's dealing with well-meaning people saying deeply unhelpful things. She's rebuilding from scratch, and she's doing it largely alone. But here's where the story starts to shift. Maya, and honestly, I have so much respect for her for this, Maya decided to focus entirely on herself. She threw herself into her career. She started going to therapy. She picked up hobbies she'd put aside during the relationship. She started being more intentional about the friendships she was investing in. She wasn't doing some dramatic glow-up for revenge. She was just quietly, steadily, putting herself back together. And that's actually the most powerful kind of healing there is, because it's real. It's not performance. It's not for an audience. It's just for you. And while Maya was doing all of this quietly and steadily, things with Derek and Sienna began to unravel. Now this is where Charlotte's delivery is absolutely chef's kiss because she builds the tension so well. It didn't happen overnight. These things never do. But over the course of about 1.5 years, the cracks in Derek and Sienna's relationship started to become very visible to the people around them. The mutual friends who had been attending their couple events and normalizing their relationship started noticing the arguments, the tension, the moments at social gatherings where things felt sharp and uncomfortable between them. And then came the first bombshell. Sienna confided in one of their mutual friends that Derek had been emotionally unavailable, that he was dismissive of her feelings, that he had this pattern of making her feel like her emotions were too much, like she was overreacting, like she needed to just calm down and not make things such a big deal. Sound familiar? Because apparently some of Maya's closest friends recognized that behavior immediately. Because Derek had done the same thing to Maya. He'd just done it so gradually, and Maya had spent so long trying to not rock the boat, that it had become her normal. Sienna had essentially taken on the same relationship Maya had been in, with all of the same problems, except Sienna had blown up a 2-decade friendship and a 3-year relationship to get there. And now, she was standing in the exact same spot Maya had been trying to escape from. And then, the second bombshell. Because apparently Derek, while he was with Sienna, had been texting someone else. Not Maya, a completely different woman, someone from his gym, and when Sienna found out, she was obviously devastated. She confronted him. He denied it at first, which pattern of behavior, we see you, and then eventually admitted that he had been emotionally connecting with this other woman and that he felt like Sienna didn't understand him. I'll give you a moment to absorb that. The man who left his 3-year girlfriend for her best friend, who then gaslit that best friend through their own relationship, was now emotionally connecting with someone else while claiming the woman he'd blown everything up to be with didn't understand him. The irony, the absolute staggering irony. Charlotte had the best line in her video at this point. I don't want to paraphrase her too closely, but basically, she said something to the effect of, "The problem was never the girlfriend. The problem was always him." And that is such an important thing to say out loud, because so often when someone leaves a relationship for someone else, the narrative becomes about what the first person was lacking. Like maybe if Maya had been more fun, or more attentive, or more exciting, Derek wouldn't have wandered. And that's such a harmful story to tell, because it puts the responsibility for someone else's choices onto the person who is simply minding their own business and trusting the people they loved. Derek wasn't unhappy with Maya because of something wrong with Maya. Derek was Derek, and Derek, it turns out, was the common denominator. Now, around this time, and this is the part I genuinely lost it at, some of the mutual friends who had told Maya to get over it started reaching back out to her. Not with big dramatic apologies necessarily, but with quiet little check-ins. Sliding into her DMs with, "Hey, how are you doing?" Liking her posts. One of them apparently sent her a long message essentially acknowledging that they hadn't been great friends to her after everything went down and that they were sorry. And Maya, bless her, was gracious about it. She didn't go in with, "I told you so" energy. She just received it. She responded kindly, because she had done her healing. She wasn't sitting around waiting for this moment. She'd moved forward, so when the moment came, she had nothing left to prove. And then the absolute final piece, the cherry on top of this entire karma sundae. Derek and Sienna broke up, officially, dramatically, with receipts apparently being shared through the friend group. The relationship that destroyed a childhood friendship, that upended a 3-year relationship, that got defended with, "You can't help who you fall in love with," it lasted less than 2 years. Less than 2 years, and apparently the ending was not pretty. Sienna, from what filtered back through their social circle, was heartbroken. And look, I want to be careful here because I'm not going to sit here and say I was cackling with glee at someone else's pain. That's not what karma appreciation is about, at least not for me. But there is something deeply validating about watching the universe correct an imbalance. There is something important about seeing that the story Maya was told, that Derek and Sienna had this special, undeniable connection that was worth blowing everything up for, turned out to not be the fairy tale it was presented as. Because Maya was the one left holding the ruins. Maya was the one who had to rebuild. And for a long time, the story being told around her was that it was worth it. That what Derek and Sienna had was real and lasting. And then it wasn't. Maya shared an update eventually, which Charlotte also covered, where she talked about where her life was at after all of this. She had a job she genuinely loved. She had built a tighter, more intentional circle of friends, people who had shown up for her during the hard times, and who she trusted deeply. She had started dating again, slowly and carefully. Someone who sounded absolutely lovely and who treated her the way she deserved to be treated from the start. And she said something that really stayed with me. She said that she actually felt grateful for the betrayal. Not in a toxic positivity way, not in a everything happens for a reason bypass of the pain, but in the sense that it forced her to look very clearly at who was actually in her corner. It stripped away a lot of things that looked like stability, but were actually just comfortable illusions. And what was left, once all of that fell away, was something much more solid and much more real. That got me. That genuinely got me. Because I think so many of us have been through versions of this, maybe not this exact scenario, but that feeling of being betrayed by the people you trusted most, and then having to rebuild in the rubble, and wondering if you'll ever feel safe or whole again. And the answer, if Maya's story is any indication, is yes. You do. You absolutely do. But it takes time, and it takes honesty, and it takes the willingness to stop making yourself small to accommodate people who are never going to appreciate it anyway. Charlotte's reaction to the update was so warm, and I love that about her. She celebrates the wins. She doesn't just dwell in the drama of the betrayal. She brings you all the way through to the other side, and she cheers for the person who made it out. And I think that's why these kinds of videos resonate so deeply, because they aren't just about the villains getting what they deserve. They're about the person at the center of the story choosing themselves, finding their footing, and walking forward. The karma is the side dish. The main course is always the comeback. So those are my thoughts, those are my reactions, and honestly, I could talk about this story for another hour because there are so many layers to unpack. But I want to hear from you. Have you ever been in a situation like Maya's? Have you ever had your gut telling you something for months before you got confirmation? Have you ever been on the other side of a "you can't help who you fall in love with" excuse? Let me know in the comments below, because this community always has the most thoughtful, real, honest responses, and I genuinely love reading every single one. If you're new here and this is your first video, please subscribe. We do this all the time. We react, we discuss, we unpack, and we celebrate every single time the universe gets it right. And if you want to see more reaction videos like this one, let me know in the comments who you'd like me to react to next, because I have a whole list and I love hearing what you're interested in. Thank you so much for being here, genuinely. This community means everything to me, and I don't take a single one of you for granted. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves, be kind to yourselves, and remember, your peace is worth protecting. Always.